Hey guys, this is Tracy from Cleverly Inspired. I recently painted my builder grade pre-finished hardwood floors, and I wanted to share with you some tips along the way in case you wanted to complete this project on your own. They turned out great. We're really happy with them. The paint that we used is a very specific brand of paint. I don't think I would suggest using or substituting another brand because this paint has pretty unique properties for this application. So anyway, here's the video. If you have any further questions, please try to contact me on Facebook at Cleverly Inspired. I'm also on the web at the blog at www.cleverlyinspired.com. Preparing your surface. This crud cutter is great. You basically spray it on, let it sit for just a second, and then wipe it off with a nice clean wash rag, and it'll cut all of the grease and the grime and anything that might be on the floor off of the floor. And then you're going to want to tape with some good painter's tape. Frog tape is another one I really like. This Scotch Blue is a good one to tape off your trim work so the wood floor paint doesn't get on your trim work. And the other thing I think is kind of helpful is a pair of socks, because then the oils from your feet will not get on your clean floor that you just cleaned. I wanted to show you a little trick that painters do when they're painting, maybe putting up painter's tape. You can use a straight edge like this and then just rip away from it, and it cuts the tape where the straight edge is. So I just put the first coat of this Porter Paint Breakthrough. The color is actually a color match. That's a Ben Moore color called Halo, H-A-L-O. That's kind of I would say it's a true kind of beigey gray white. It doesn't have any purple in it. It doesn't have any yellows. It has a touch of blue or a touch of brown and a touch of gray. It's an off-white, very hard color to describe, but I started in the corner here in the foyer, and like I said, this is the first coat, and what you need to keep in mind with this product is it dries really fast, so it's very hard to keep a wet edge. You need to apply it very thin with a really high quality wide brush and work quickly and work in small areas. So what I'm going to do is let this area dry for 2 hours, and then I'm going to recoat it, which I'm thinking will be the final coat, and I'm going to basically finish that section by section. So that section will be finished, and then I'll work on this section and so on down the hallway. For this second section of floor, I'm going to try to roll the first coat on and see how it goes. It looks like it's going on pretty good. It's like I said, you want to do a couple thin coats, which is better for this product. While you're doing that, make sure you keep your brushes in a plastic bag, preferably in the refrigerator so they don't get dry, and make sure you cover your paint because, like I've said, this paint dries really quick, and the less air that you can keep on it, the better off you're going to be. Wanted to just show you when you're rolling this first coat on, and this little tray here with this size roller is really a perfect size. I think this was maybe like $6, and I've kept it in the fridge covered for 3 days so it stays nice and wet. But your first coat can be rolled on, and it's almost like you're rolling on a primer. You want to be able to see some of the floor because that's how thin this coat should be. If you really want it to grip the wood, you don't want it to be thick and clumpy. So just make sure you kind of roll out your marks so it dries nice and even. And I'm applying pressure, but not a lot of pressure. So something to keep in mind with this breakthrough product, it doesn't behave like a normal latex paint in that if you try to go back over something that has started to dry, the paint is going to want to pick up, and because it has started to adhere already. So I would suggest going over it and rolling it or brushing it on, but don't try to go over it again if it started to dry, because it's going to want to start to pick up on you. So my first coat that I rolled on, which the roller actually worked great for the first coat because it was like a nice thin coat, and that's exactly what you want with this paint. You want it a nice thin coat for your first coat, and then come back with a brush. And I'm using a brush for my second coat because I really want to get in those grooves. And you work in, I guess, maybe a 12 by 12 area, smoothing that area out first before you move on, because like I said previously, you can't really feather out this paint much after a minute. So this is where I'm at. I have 2 coats down on every section of the foyer and the hallway. I just stopped at the kitchen area. I also did not do the bathroom yet because that's going to need an extra cleaning, if you know what I mean. And I am loving it. 10 by 8 area that I'm hoping to get 2 coats on today while putter is at the vet. And now I'm going to steam. I'm going to use my steamer and I'm going to clean it, and then after that I'm going to go back over everything with the crud cutter and make sure it's extra clean and extra dry, so my first coat will go on good. So I basically cleaned everything really well, and I started in the corners that are heavily used and by my door, because I want to be able to get 2 really good dry coats on there. Right now it's about 9:20, and so I made a note to myself with a little post-it as I go that section will be ready at 11:30 for a second coat, so that I'm just keeping track, I guess, of the sections that I'm painting and when they're going to be ready for their second coat. And I'm also thinking possibly about doing 3 coats in the kitchen. I just did 2 coats in the foyer and the powder room, and they look great, but I'm going to just see how I feel about maybe doing 3 coats. I'm not positive yet. Another tip that I wanted to tell you is, as I guess go along here, what I've been doing is placing this wet paint, covering it with saran and putting the brush in a baggie and leaving it in the refrigerator, because that will keep it nice and wet and it won't get all sticky and gross. I wanted to show you, when you stop an area and let it dry and you're not going to continue on, make sure you kind of just feather out. See how this isn't really a hard edge there? It's kind of feathered out. That way you won't have a line when you go back and start to paint again. You can just go right up to it and there won't be, I guess, kind of like a wetness to it. It's just kind of feathered into the wood. Just to give a little update, it's about 2 o'clock on my second day. Well, I should say my first full day. My second day, though, of working on this, and I have the foyer is completely done, the hallway is completely done, and the powder room is done. And today I worked on basically half of the kitchen, and I did get 2 coats on it. And like I said, it's 2 o'clock, so 2 o'clock tomorrow, before my kids get home from school, this will be dry for 24 hours. So this is the morning of my third day, second full day. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning and my kids just got on the bus, and I just vacuumed this last area that I have. I took a brush vacuum and did around the corners and the nooks and crannies. I think this is going to take me the longest to clean because it's the working part of the kitchen. And I just finished steaming it. I have one of these, I was going to show you one of these sharp steamers. If you don't have one of those, I would just take a bucket of some hot water and with a very just lightly damp cloth, wipe down the corners, all around the corners, and just over the floor with just some hot, and let that dry. Nice thing about the steamer is it dries right away, so they're not that expensive if you want to invest in one, because that's how I'm going to clean this floor too, is with the steamer. The other thing is I'm going to just do what I did to this floor. I'm going to take my crud cutter, and what I did yesterday, if I found some spots that needed a little extra attention, I left the crud cutter on there for like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so, and it just kind of wipes right off. If you have some crud in the grooves of your wood, I'm sure there'll be some over by my stove, maybe my dishwasher area. I'll probably leave it on there for a little bit, and then I will take my putty knife and kind of work in the grooves and get out some of that baked on dirt. I wanted to give you an idea on the second coat. I'm brushing it on with this Purdy brush. I think it's a 3-inch, and you're going to kind of lay it on there. Should be a little thicker than your first coat, but I think that it naturally goes on that way. And as you brush it on, feather it out as you go, and don't come back to it. Leave it alone, because if you come back to it, it's going to want to pull up on you. So it really goes on nice. And I guess I'm working in maybe like little, I don't know, 10-inch square sections. Finish that section and then move on. Just moving fairly quickly, but making sure I don't have any drips. Okay, y'all, I just finished my second coat, so everything has a second coat. Now I haven't gone back to touch up. I think some of the quarter round I'm probably going to do 3 coats on, so I'm going to do that with my 1-inch brush, but I wanted to show you how much paint I have left. 1 gallon of paint did it. I probably have, maybe 1/8 of an inch of paint in there. So that gallon for $70 did my whole kitchen, my whole hallway, foyer, and powder room. I'm not sure the square footage, but so the floor is all finished and it's been dry for 24 hours. So I'm going to use this contractor paper for the next 14 days. I'm going to keep this down until the paint really cures, and I'm going to just try to use it where the putter dog might be.